Hello everyone, welcome back to another Drum Lessons with Scott. I am Scott Jackson, and this week we are going to continue talking about the intermediate class for our levels of musicianship. So let's get this episode started. Okay, so today we're going to break down more of the intermediate class. Last week we did 3 and 4. Today we're going to do 5, maybe 6. Level 5 is kind of detailed, but I'll keep it hopefully concise enough to where we can talk about level 6 as well. So in level 5, through my 10 years of teaching private lessons, this is the stage that most people will either quit taking lessons. They'll still play drums, but they might feel uninspired, and this is really the first stage that you confront a lot of roadblocks, because you're sort of exiting from all of the usual study. You're probably getting into more advanced concepts. However, this is where I have seen people decide that I want more. So they go, man, this is really cool. I want to push through this. And some people decide that, you know what, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with what I've learned. I can play all my favorite songs. I can learn new favorite songs and stuff like that I like off the radio. I'm okay with where I'm at. They might not quit playing, but they're totally fine with where they're at. Now, again, I'm not saying people quit playing, but some might, but most do not. They still play. I'm saying that in this stage, you confront a lot of technical and conceptual roadblocks. So, there's two choices that you have. You either choose to learn those concepts and practice more, because you will have to practice more in order to learn these things. Or you decide not to, because you're either comfortable with your abilities, or it's just too overwhelming for you to push through and do that stuff. Or there's another option, and this is what I tend to tell people, that it's okay. You might not have to practice more, but just realize it's going to take you longer to get through this stage. So let's go ahead and break down the skills. Now, I will be very clear and concise here. I don't want people to confuse the different levels. So this one I was trying to, because a lot of the levels, they cross over in terms of skill set. And I wanted to make this one, this one is already drastically different in terms of how I evaluate a player. So at this stage, you should know at least the original 26 rudiments. Okay? You might not have them mastered, but you should at least know them. And your double stroke roll is starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. You can probably do a double stroke roll cleanly at maybe a slow tempo, like 60 to 80 beats a minute, somewhere in there. I'm just kind of ballparking it. I don't judge things off tempo. Usually I judge things off how good it sounds. But personally, when I got to this stage, I remember it taking me about 4 years to really master my double stroke roll, and that was a consistent thing I did every day for 4 years. I practiced double strokes every day. Some days it was 2 minutes, other days it was 15 minutes to 20 minutes that I was just working on my double strokes. So, it does take time. So that's what you should know for your rudiments. You should at least know the original 26 rudiments, and you should be pushing on to learn the rest of the 40 modern rudiments, and maybe some hybrid rudiments while you're at it, just to have some fun. Styles, you're most likely able to play most of the American rock styles, R&B, hip-hop, pop music, maybe some reggae. You've probably gotten into some reggae because that's a pretty popular style. It's not from the Americas, but it's a very popular style that is popular in America, so you're probably doing that too. And you've probably gotten into some swing music or jazz music, maybe some jazz big band or some bebop, a smaller group setting. But this is the stage where you start to explore more world rhythms. So maybe samba and bossa nova from Brazil. You start to get into calypso, maybe some soca and reverse soca. You start to get into some Afro-Cuban stuff, so like salsa playing, guaguancó, just all kinds of stuff. You get into clave, and you probably start maybe studying some Indian rhythm concepts. You probably start learning some African grooves, like just all sorts of stuff. You also get into linear playing, maybe for the first time, maybe not. But your linear playing, you start to get into maybe some different combinations at this phase that just help you solo better and just really make you sound and look cool behind the drums. Theory, you're probably learning chord structure, maybe some melody and note names too. This helps you understand music on a deeper level. That way you can talk to your band members in a clear way. You have the same language. Oh, that's A minor chord. Oh, this is a C major chord, stuff like that. You can talk about chord progressions, 2-5-1s and all sorts of stuff like that to just help you talk to your band members easily. Performance wise, if you're still in high school at this phase, you might be in the band at church, you might be in a local or the school symphony or concert band, you might be in the school's jazz band or any other small group setting. Maybe you have your own cover band going on, or you're doing some originals too. The next point is pretty big, because at this stage, you've become a pretty good player, so you probably start to get some recognition around your community, and you probably start getting people asking you to come play for their group, and you just have to figure out how to balance all that. In terms of reading, you should definitely be able to read a number of rhythms by now. You should be able to read between duple and triple rhythms. My advice is to maybe start studying out of the Charles Wilcoxon 150 rudimental solos, because that'll teach you all your rudiments very quickly. And there's some great solos from the intermediate snare drum solos by Mitchell Peters. Really basic reading in that book as well, and it really will hone your reading skills. That way you can read charts better, you can transcribe your own charts quicker, and just all sorts of stuff. You'll be able to hear more rhythms. It just helps you overall. Also, chart reading. You can join a local big band or your high school big band. If you don't have that opportunity, Tommy Igoe makes a great series called The Groove Essentials, where there are drum charts in that you can play along to. Also, there's a book by Steve Fiddick. It's, I think it's like I forget the title of it. It's something, The Art of Playing Big Band, and that's a really cool book. And there's also a play-along series by the jazz big band named the Big Fat Big Band. And that is a group of guys from LA that put together a big band, and it's a really good book. It's some pretty cool stuff. It'll really, really get your reading and your styles in check. And it's the founder of the group is the great jazz composer Gordon Goodwin. Really cool book. Has a bunch of different styles in reading. So if you play through those books, you're definitely going to be more comfortable reading a drum chart and sitting behind the drums and improvising and just doing all sorts of stuff. Also, soloing wise, you're probably trading 2s, trading 4s. Probably start learning how to solo over a form, maybe a very basic way, just an A-B concept. I say this because this is a huge stage where you can transition and transform those acquired skills to become a professional musician and make a living playing or teaching. You might be hitting a lot of roadblocks. However, all these new ideas are making you better. You're being challenged like never before, but you're slowly getting better. You're learning your coordination, your styles, your feel, your soloing, your improvising, your fills, your reading, your chart interpretation. All of these concepts are making you better. However, they'll force you to do one thing. And this is the really important part that you want to take away from this. All of these new concepts will make you practice, or if you want to call it, will make you study more. You have to study more to break through this phase. You can do it slowly, that's okay. But if you really want to get over the mountain here, you really just have to submerge yourself and dive in to drumming and learn that it's a lot of fun, and just learning all this stuff is fun. Practice is fun. So you want to study and practice more in this phase. Just to refresh everyone's memory, I am going to release a PDF at the end of this that has everything in pretty good detail. So if I don't cover something here, you feel free to send a question, or you can read the PDF when I'm done with this series. So we still have some time. Let's move on to lesson 6. Level 6. Level 6. This is the moment that you have arrived, sort of. You've chosen to push through all of the roadblocks that you faced in level 5, because there are a lot. You still have a lot to learn. However, your technical skills have solidified. Your conceptual ideas of styles, improv, linear playing, rudiments, chart reading, sight reading, all sorts of stuff. They're starting to become comfortable. You can play all of your rudiments. They're borderline mastered. You study linear playing more deeply for groove creation, soloing, and speed. You may study subdivision shifts at this phase, which I highly recommend. You can get into the table of time a little bit. And at this phase, you're diving deeper into non-American styles, and you're probably going deeper with swing. So you've kind of departed from the rock and roll stuff maybe a little bit. Not everyone will do that. I know I was still gigging with some pop and cover bands while I was doing this, so I couldn't completely depart from it, but it was definitely crossing over. My ideas from studying all these different world grooves and jazz playing was starting to cross over into my rock playing, and just making things more interesting for me. You're most likely the best player in your high school or college at this point. You might even be, if you're in a small community, you're probably one of the better drummers in your community. You're on the short list for being hired. You start to hunger for more skills, and you start to idolize players like Elvin Jones, Paul Motian, Tony Williams, Dennis Chambers, Vinnie Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, Steve Gadd, modern guys like Kendrick Scott, Thomas Pridgeon, Tony Royster. You probably listened to a lot of recording guys like Steve Jordan and just all those legends, Jeff Porcaro. You strive to master more styles because you realize that in order to make a living performing, you're probably going to have to know more than just American styles. And you realize that it's just not about being a good drummer, it's about being a good musician. So let's get into the skills that you will probably confront. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to go over. First is the downside. More roadblocks. You hit more plateaus. So you're starting to play better and things are feeling more comfortable, but you still feel awkward behind the drums. You have to remember that you've probably only been playing at the max maybe 7 to 8 years. Maybe longer, maybe 9 or 10. But if you think about it, when you were born to the age of 10, when you hit 10, you're still pretty awkward in your own body. Like, you're still learning how to use your body. So try to think of that metaphor that even though you've only been playing 10 years on the drum set, you're still going to have some awkwardness behind the drums that you're going to have to work out because you're encountering it. You can still find yourself hesitating a lot, maybe overthinking the music, and a new study arises at this phase that you want to really learn how to master, and it takes time. And that's one is learning how to keep time stronger within a groove setting and within a solo setting, which for me that's the hardest part, is learning how to keep steady time while soloing. That's a really, really difficult thing that I'm constantly working on. The upside is all the technical stuff is really, really flowing well. You can play all 40 rudiments from memory. You can play them at a slow tempo to a medium tempo, maybe from anywhere from 60 to 120. You can probably most likely orchestrate them any way you want as well. Styles, you've probably mastered all of the usual American styles. You're probably digging deeper into swing music. and you're going into samba, ñáñigo, merengue, soca, calypso, reverse soca, African styles, and you're just learning more and more music. You're most likely getting into odd meters, so 7/4, 8/4, 11/8, 7/8, stuff like that. You're getting into more linear combinations to help your soloing. You're combining rudiments with linear combinations. You're substituting bass drum inside the rudiments, and you're just really exploring a bunch of new advanced concepts. Ear training, most likely you're better with chord progressions now, and you can talk to your band better, and you're starting to hear new rhythmic ideas. Songs, you can learn any song you want really quickly, and if it's something difficult, you know that you can sit down and practice it and learn it within a day or two. Transcribing, you're most likely transcribing a lot, studying drummers that you want to study, and you're stealing their licks. You're learning new subdivisions. You're probably getting into quintuplets, septuplets, ninelets, just all sorts of different rhythms. You're learning how to shift back and forth between triplets and 16th notes, or quintuplets and sextuplets, and just all over the place. I mean, you're just really exploring new advanced concepts, but because of all this exploring, you're like, man, what the heck is going on here? So your body still feels really awkward, and this is the phase that what I recommend for a teacher is someone that is open-minded and understands how to craft your musical abilities while fine-tuning your technique. Now, what I mean by that is they push your musicality behind the drums. They make your musical decisions better, but they're not completely revamping or redoing your technical approach to the drum set. Now, obviously, if you're playing stiff as a board, they're going to work on that. However, if you've been playing for a while and you're already relaxed, you probably don't need someone to tell you to play relaxed. And just to give you an example, I went into a lesson and the guy instantly tried to change my fulcrum. And I was like, well, my fulcrum's okay. Like, sure, there's some little things that I could work on, but I'm not totally tense, so I don't understand why you're trying to change my fulcrum. And I primarily play German grip, and he was trying to change it. And I play German grip, and I use my index finger as my fulcrum. Not a big deal. Like, I'm still super loose. I don't have any carpal tunnel or tension issues like that. I don't have tendonitis, nothing. And he was like, oh, well, you should play with your fulcrum between your thumb and your middle finger, like, even more loose. And I was like, well, okay, but why? And he never really gave me a why. It was just, oh, well, you should, because so-and-so does it. I'm like, okay, well, so-and-so also uses the same fulcrum I do. What's the difference? Like, at that point, it doesn't matter what fulcrum you use as long as you relax. So what I'm trying to get at is your technical approach remains the same. Sure, they might fine-tune it. That's okay, but you want to find a teacher that will push your musical approach, because you want to learn German technique and you want to learn French technique if you're a match grip player, just because it makes you more adaptable. It's not about right or wrong like this teacher presented to me. I'm all about being adaptable and you being able to have options in certain situations, because the drum set is a very awkward instrument and you want to make it as ergonomical as you can for you. So sometimes your hand might be in French grip. Other times it might be in German grip or somewhere in between, okay? So at this point, it's not really so much about technique. It's about your decisions, and it's about how you sound. What type of sound are you getting out of the drums? Does it sound dead and sloppy because you're pushing through the drum, or are you playing off the drum and it sings and soars like it should? Are you really tight when you hit the drum? Are you loose and relaxed and still playing with force? Because it does sound completely different when you play that way. So you want an open-minded teacher that will fine-tune things, but will mainly push your musical abilities. So that's it for this lesson. And I really do enjoy everyone who tunes in and listens. Shout out to all my listeners. I really, really appreciate that you guys listen. Feel free to email me or hit me up on Instagram at Scott Jackson Drums. You can ask me any questions about this stuff. I'm more than willing to have a chat about it. Or an even better spot is Drummers I Like has a discussion page on Facebook. All you have to do is search Drummers I Like discussion and it'll pull up. Just send an invite and I think there's like 2 or 3 questions you have to answer, and it's basically just your name and what brings you to the discussion group. And we have all types of different topics that we talk about in there. So feel free to join that as well. Thank you again for listening. And that is it. I will see you next week. Take care. Have a good week.